from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Coming up on AgDay, harsh tones from the president on unfair trade.
We're like the stupid people, and I don't like to have that anymore.
Plus, the president's plan on infrastructure. We have coverage from National Farm Machinery Show and in agribusiness, drought-driven wheat markets.
In general, crop scare rallies present the farmer with some of the best marketing opportunities that they'll see throughout a calendar year. Consumer
costs may go up because of shipping shortages, and an Olympic athlete spreading the news about the benefits of milk.
AgDay, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. A cargo load of angst may pull into port as President Trump talks about the possibility of imposing a reciprocal tax on imports. The president meeting with lawmakers on trade this week. He's seeking advice on whether to impose trade sanctions on aluminum and steel imports. Now, the administration argues those imports pose a threat to national security, but some opponents warn that countries like China could retaliate and create a trade war. A part of the conversation revolving around Trump's comments Monday that he would soon announce a reciprocal tax, a tax on imports from other countries at the same rates those countries impose on U.S. products.
I mean, the word reciprocal is a very important word. We have countries that are taking advantage of us. They're charging us massive tariffs for us to sell our product into those countries. And when they sell to us, zero. We charge them zero. We're like the stupid people, and I don't like to have that anymore. So we're going to change that, and we're going to make it fair. And that, I call that fair trade.
While the president talked about a reciprocal tax during the meeting, other White House officials say no formal plan is in the works and that the president was merely reiterating sentiments he's had for some time. Still, trade analysts say a reciprocal tax, also known as a border-adjusted tax, could provoke challenges at the World Trade Organization if that tax exceeds acceptable maximum tariffs that fall under WTO oversight. Meanwhile, the president continues to push his overhaul to infrastructure in the U.S. The president holding a bipartisan meeting to discuss how to proceed. The White House revealing the $1.5 trillion plan earlier this week. As it's laid out, federal money would account for $200 billion. The balance would come from local and state tax dollars and private investments to improve highways, ports, and major waterways.
More power for state and local governments to choose projects. We want them to choose the projects they want, the most important projects, because they know best the needs of their peoples.
There is a strong bipartisan support to rebuild our nation's roads and bridges, but the proposal that the president has put forth fails to provide any substantial funds necessary to actually pay for building projects.
Rural communities have not been treated fairly. So we're going to spend $50 billion on rural infrastructure and internet access, which is so important.
The president says it's critical to ease restrictions on the permitting process, which often slows projects. And also in Washington, ag groups are celebrating a new bipartisan bill that exempts farms from an EPA regulation related to hazardous emissions. The bill, co-sponsored by Senators Deb Fischer and Joe Donnelly, Farm Bureau says it serves as relief to farmers and ranchers who will soon need to file continuous air emissions reports under federal Superfund and emergency response laws. Meanwhile, President Trump urging the Senate to pass an immigration bill introduced this week by Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley. However, the senator's bill does not include changes to the H-2A program or a provision to move the ag guest worker oversight to USDA. Now, Grassley hopes that conversation will happen soon.
That would deal with the issue of legal immigration, and nothing in this bill deals with any change of legal immigration. So consequently, that would come on the second round of immigration debate that we have, and hopefully we can have that soon.
Grassley says he's hoping the bill can be passed and signed by Thursday night. This week in Louisville, we find the National Farm Machinery Show is underway. Tyne Morgan is at the event and joins us now with more. Tyne.
Yeah, thanks, Clinton. We're here from the largest indoor farm show, the National Farm Machinery Show here in Louisville, Kentucky, catching up with Alan Hoskins from American Farm Mortgage. Alan, you know, the past few years, we know commodity prices have been depressed, and really that's shown up in the moods here at National Farm Machinery Show. But talking to people today and this week, how are moods this year?
I think, Tyne, moods are still pretty positive. They are much more attuned to what they need to be focused on today. And I would say that is translated into them being very realistic about what they need to be looking at this year.
Well, speaking of being realistic, you know, we've seen an uptick in equipment purchases the end of 2017 heading into the beginning of 2018. Are you seeing more of your customers upgrading equipment?
We're seeing more people looking for opportunities that are out there. And the thing that I really like, they're being very selective about what constitutes a good opportunity. They understand that the market has changed, and they're doing a very good job of researching before they make that decision to buy.
Well, making those decisions, planning for 2018, what advice do you have for our viewers to set yourself up for a strong financial year in 2018, no matter the commodity price?
First of all, going into this year, know exactly where the break-evens are and make sure that marketing plan is tied to locking in the opportunities. For example, with what we've seen in beans lately, there's been a good opportunity with where most people are. So make sure that they're doing that. And also, again, keep having those discussions with landlords about what's going on in the marketplace. Make sure they're attuned so when it comes time to talk about rental agreements, that landlord is not surprised by what's going on.
All right, Alan, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Reporting from here at National Farm Machinery Show, I'm Tyne Morgan, and stay tuned because tomorrow we'll have more coverage from the show.
Dry conditions linger in the plains. We'll check in with Mike Hoffman for today's crop comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Clinton. Lance Fikert sending us a picture of the first calf of the year. He says conditions are very dry in Buckland, Kansas. It's been close to 130 days without a measurable rainfall. A different change of pace in Ontario, Canada. Kevin Vanderspeck sending us a bird's eye view of the snowy landscape. While it looks cold, the area may hit the low 40s later today. And taking a look at the wind speed forecast, it's going to be a fairly windy day from the Great Lakes back through the northern plains, even into the south central plains, Tennessee Valley. You can see as we head through the day then that blast of wind coming into the areas from Minnesota toward Nebraska. And then tomorrow everything kind of spreads to the south to start the day from Texas into the eastern lakes. And then we get another system coming into the northwest. So kind of windy in a lot of parts of the country. We'll check your forecast coming up, but first here are some hometown temps.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
When we come back, we'll talk about drought and dryness in the southern plains and what that means for wheat markets. And if you're caught up in the Olympics, we'll tell you why one athlete says it's a good idea to drink your milk. Soybeans trading in the green once again during the day on Wednesday, but how did things close? For that, we go to the floor of the CME in Chicago.
Today in soybeans, the market really firmed up. There's still weather worries in Argentina, and they remain a factor. It seems like the futures are solidly above that $10 mark, and they've really become the support instead of the resistance. And with that U.S. dollar index coming off dramatically today, that is, cooperating to help this market really march higher. Corn today was steady, but a little bit firm. That dryness in South America is still affecting the corn market as well. We're in a critical stage of development, and who knows exactly what those yields are going to be in South America. That will, if there's any difficulty there, that's definitely going to help our U.S. markets. The U.S. dollar index down firmly as they are today definitely is going to make us competitive around the world, and we expect that it's going to be very difficult to keep any of the grain markets down. That's all from the floor at the CME Group here in Chicago. I'm Virginia McGathy.
Here at the Agribusiness Desk, we have Joe Vaclavic, Standard Grain. Joe, let's talk about the wheat markets. You've been talking about it quite a bit from the CME. We've been watching what's going on. The biggest drought footprint in 4 years, according to the latest drought monitor. What does this mean for the wheat markets, and how do we stay in the game here?
Well, to put it simply, this is a crop scare rally, and in general, crop scare rallies present the farmer with some of the best marketing opportunities that they'll see throughout a calendar year. It's tricky with wheat because nobody knows what type of crop they are going to have. The best way to market this or take advantage of this rally, you can sell cash contracts or futures against your guaranteed bushels and do it in some of those deferred contracts, make that carry work for you. And the second thing would be anything that's non-guaranteed that you think you still might have, put some option strategy into place where you can set a floor without committing cash bushels. You know, I made it sound easy, you know, sell a crop scare rally. It's not easy. You're never going to time it right. You're never going to get the price right. But in general, these type of weather opportunities, we saw it in the row crop markets last summer. These are some of your best chances to do some marketing, generally speaking. I'm
sure mentally it's tough because you're sitting there looking at a field that's dry. You're not exactly sure whether you're going to get enough rain to make a crop. You don't know how many, you know, how big a crop you're going to have, right? So it's probably a little bit harder to force yourself into making some of these decisions.
Unbelievably difficult, yeah, and you've got to talk to your person who handles your crop insurance and make sure it's safe to sell, you know, X amount of bushels, and then beyond that, you got to start looking at options or some sort of instrument that can, again, set your price for without committing the cash bushels. So it's difficult to do. It's very, very difficult. It's much easier said than done. But I do believe that this is a marketing opportunity, certainly.
As you look globally, you know, we've got some look at some of the global crops out there. What does the wheat picture look like?
It's bearish, and we can't export wheat to begin with, and when wheat prices rally like this, you're going to export even less. So unless we run into a major crop failure, which is still on the table but not a guarantee, the fundamental picture, according to USDA last week at least, was still pretty bearish. So we've got a sharp rally in what's really still kind of a bearish fundamental supply and demand market. So that's why I think and confirms my belief even more, I think, that this could be some kind of marketing opportunity here.
All right, take an opportunity. All right, appreciate it. Thanks, Joe. We'll be back with more Ag Day in just a minute.
For more information about Standard Grain and its services, call Joe at 312-462-4438. Ag Day, brought to you by Ram Commercial, America's longest-lasting heavy-duty pickups.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman here, looking at the weather map, and boy, look at that. It looks like rain down in the southwest, and you think there could be more behind it.
There's another system going to ride right up along that front, so that is at least some good news for those very dry areas in the southwest. And we also have a couple of other systems farther north from Kansas, Nebraska, on up into the northern Great Lakes. And this one's going to really moisten up this front as we head through time. Lots of Gulf moisture coming out ahead of it. So looks like rain just breaks out across Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio as we head through the afternoon hours today. Snow in the northern Great Lakes, some upslope snow in Wyoming and Colorado. Next system still offshore, so we kind of see things waning a little bit in the southwest for a day or two. This probably should be shown as a stationary front because it's going to meander a little bit, but we have the whole thing kind of shown as a cold front for now. High pressure by tomorrow morning from the northern plains into the west, keeping things dry, but another storm system coming into the Pacific Northwest with rain and mountain snows. You can see kind of a messy system in the northeast as we head into tomorrow morning. That continues to shift offshore with lingering snow showers in the eastern lakes. And then the next system coming into the southwest, so look at that, a large area, southeastern Arizona, central and southern New Mexico, moving into West Texas, getting some moisture there. Checking out precipitation estimates over the past 24 hours. A lot of it has been from northern Mississippi on up into Pennsylvania, another little area throughout the Rockies, especially the eastern portions. Adding in the next 36 hours, we're going to add some more to those same places in the Tennessee Valley, Ohio Valley, and scattered into the northeast. And boy, those are some decent amounts in places in the southwest. I'm sure if you live in one of those areas that gets missed, you're going to be very disappointed by this situation. But there's still some more chances coming as we head through the next week or two. Snowfall estimates mainly out west and the far northern portions of the plains, but you can see as we head through time that colder air pushes and we see a little bit more snow coming into the northeast, northern Great Lakes, but most of it remains in the Rockies. High temperatures today, 60s and 70s from St. Louis southward, single digits. By the time you get into North Dakota, lows tomorrow morning down towards 0, even a few places below 0 in the far northern plains. 60s though, mid-Atlantic toward the Gulf Coast. And then tomorrow afternoon, that cold air presses even farther. Look at that difference. Atlanta 70, Memphis 43 late in the afternoon. Here's the jet stream, and you can see how we continue to try to get these lows going into the southwestern part of the country. That means more good news for those drought areas, and it stays warm in the southeast. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, Casper, Wyoming, much colder, times of snow, high of 24 degrees. St. Louis, Missouri, cloudy and warm with showers, high around 70. And finally, Pittsburgh, PA, turning warm with rain arriving in the afternoon, high of 62.
When we come back, why meat and meat products may be getting more expensive at the grocery store. It's our Drovers TV report. And see why world-class athletes rely on milk to fuel their bodies.
Uh-oh.
In a conference call with reporters, Tyson Foods says rising freight costs are affecting all of its businesses and eventually will be felt by the consumer in the form of higher prices for its products. Tyson CEO Tom Hayes says the company estimates that the tight trucking market will add more than $200 million to its costs this year.
Across all segments, freight costs have escalated as trucking capacity has tightened nationwide, he said. Tyson expects those costs to continue to rise as carriers compete for drivers and new federal regulations come into play.
Henderson says Tyson believes the market is driving wages higher and pushing up labor costs. They plan to adjust their meat prices to address this freight issue, and ultimately the consumer will pay more for products. Also in regional news, bovine tuberculosis has been detected in a western Michigan cattle herd. The State Department of Ag and Rural Development says the cattle tested positive at a processing facility were traced to a farm in Ottawa County west of Grand Rapids. Now a 3-mile surveillance area has been established, and all cattle in the area must undergo testing within 6 months. Officials say the infected animals originated with a herd in Indiana that tested positive for bovine TB back in 2016. And for the first time, a parasitic worm common in cattle has been found in people. Scientists say worms removed from an Oregon woman's eye were caused by flies that feed on tears. Now, according to new medical reports, it's the first known human case of the parasitic infection that's typically found in cattle. 14 tiny worms were removed from the left eye of the 26-year-old woman in August of 2016. Now, they're spread by a type of fly known as face flies. Those flies feed on tears that lubricate the eyeball.
If it was in my right corner of my left eye, I could feel it. And then I could feel it squiggle like across my eye. It's this dull kind of pain that was in there. And I was like, I'm so frustrated. I'm going to get this thing out. And so I like yanked it out, and it was a worm.
She had been petting a horse in Gold Beach, Oregon, an area with quite a bit of livestock. Now, the worms were translucent, each less than a ½ inch long. Eyeworms are seen in several kinds of animals, including cats and dogs. All right, still to come, find out how milk is helping to power Olympic athletes when AgDay continues.
AgDay, brought to you by Resicor corn herbicide, a uniquely powerful formulation, extraordinary power over weeds. In the country, sponsored by Kubota. Tractors, hay tools, utility vehicles, mowers, and more. Visit KubotaUSA.com today.
Now, many of us are caught up in the Winter Olympics, now underway in South Korea. They're highly trained athletes where nutrition is a vital component. Emily Infeld understands the importance of diet in a rigorous workout. She ran the 10,000-meter race in the Rio Olympic Games back in 2016. Now, Infeld includes milk at her training table. She now speaks for the American Dairy Association Mid-East about the benefits of milk in high-caliber athletes.
I was someone who always constantly kept myself hydrated, but I loved milk, so it was also an easy way to stay hydrated with that as well. And to get some extra nutrients.
Infeld is sharing some of her training tips with Ohio farm kid Kelsey Broering. Now, Kelsey runs track in high school. She grew up on her family's dairy farm in western Ohio. Doing chores on the farm helped prepare her for rigors on the track.
Being a runner, you know it's going to be tough, and you just got to go through it. And knowing that Olympic runners have to go through it too just makes you want to just think you're going to be with that one day and just push through it.
Infeld says calcium and vitamin D are especially important for women because they promote bone health, and it can help prevent injuries like stress fractures that runners often face during grueling training sessions. There you have it. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in, spent part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
AgDay, brought to you by Ram Commercial, America's longest lasting heavy-duty pickups.